Welcome everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Service Delegated Committee. Before we commence the meeting, I request that all mobile telephones are turned off or switched to silent. My name is Councillor Rob Bailey and I chair this committee. I'll start by introducing my fellow councillors. Seated to my left at the horseshoe table in the council chamber are Councillors Lisa Hollingsworth, Councillor Shima Abuki, Councillor Wes Galt, Councillor Mick Nolan, Councillor Felicity Sinfield. On the opposite side, we have our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Victor Franco, Councillor Mal Osborne-Smith, our Mayor, Sophie Tawney, Councillor John Friend-Piera, and Councillor Chris Pattis. I also acknowledge our CEO, Mr. Philip Storer, to my right, and our Coordinator of Governance, Mr. Kirsten Ritchie, to my left. Sorry, Phil. There are other officers in attendance tonight and they will be introduced as they present their reports. The purpose of the Service Delegated Committee is to deal with issues relating to the provision of human and physical services in Council's infrastructure. For those in the gallery presenting this evening, when we come to the agenda item, it will be introduced by an officer. I'll then call you by your name and we'll ask you to introduce yourself and your suburb. I'll ask speakers to sit at the top of the horseshoe table and I'll invite those against the officer's recommendations to speak first, followed by those in favour. When making a submission, you are requested to present your viewpoint clearly and concisely on why you agree or disagree with your proposal, and you may suggest an alternative approach which will satisfy your concerns. Please do not repeat what earlier speakers have said and keep the discussion focused on relevant issues. There is a limit of 3 minutes for each speaker and that includes councillors. As chairperson, I reserve the right to vary that. At the 2.5-minute mark, I will ring a bell, which will indicate you have 30 minutes left to speak. After you've spoken, please remain at the horseshoe table and we'll ask if any councillors wish to ask any questions of you. For those in the gallery this evening, I would like you would like to take this opportunity to remind you to extend due courtesy and respect to each other and to the committee as a whole. This includes remaining quiet while others are addressing the meeting and not disrupting the decision-making process of the committee. And just to finish, I would like to encourage all submitters, officers and councillors to speak directly into the microphone. This will ensure that everyone can hear clearly what you have to say. Mrs. Ritchie, are there any apologies for this evening?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, there are no apologies for tonight's meeting.
Okay. Adoption and confirmation of the minutes of the Service Delegated Committee meetings held on the 9th of September 2024. Councillors, can I please have a motion to adopt and confirm the minutes? Councillor Hollingsworth?
As circulated, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Galt?
Happy to second, Chair.
Is there anyone opposed? With no opposition, I will now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? With none against, the motion is carried. Declaration of conflict of interest of any councillors. Councillors and council officers, are there any conflicts of interest that you wish to foreshadow for the matters on the agenda tonight? That's a no. So we have our first presentation. And that will be introduced by Jared Filosa.
Okay, thank you, and through you, Chair. Deep Dean Preschool currently is a single unit 25-place kindergarten where much of the existing structure, both internal and external, is outdated, including the deteriorating roof, which is in poor condition and requires a full replacement. The proposed works will focus on renewing the facility to meet compliance requirements and community needs by addressing functionality, safety and accessibility standards. The scope of works for this renewal project includes increasing the licensed area from 25 to 33 children, refurbishing the kinder room both internally and externally, a refreshed entry and undercover area to welcome families, upgrade of electrical, mechanical and hydraulic services, upgrade of security access control, a larger office to support the teaching team, a combined staff and meeting room with a kitchenette, a new children's bathroom, expanded storage facilities, full replacement of the roof, improved landscaping and replacement of the shade sail to the outdoor play area. In addition to the above, the works incorporate high sustainability standards, featuring an all-electric design, solar panels, removal of gas from the site, and a water tank plumbed to flush the toilets. The recommended tenderer has a proven track record of delivering ESD outcomes and integrated ESD initiatives into numerous past projects. All construction waste generated will be sorted off-site with an impressive average of 90% being recycled and diverted from landfill. Council has allocated funding in previous financial year's budgets to complete the consultation and design for redevelopment works at the Kinder. Funding has continued through to the current financial year and also forecast into 25-26 to enable the delivery of the works. Council has also been successful in obtaining grant funding from the State Department of Education for a total of $1,113,636. It is recognised that expansion would not have been able to proceed without the grant funding, and this was a milestone for the project. This report seeks to award contract 2024/149 for the redevelopment works of Deepdene Kinder to Bowden Corp for a lump sum of $1,583,784, excluding GST. Pending award of this contract, works are anticipated to commence in January 2025 and be complete by November 2025. The officer makes a recommendation for council to award the contract as per the council report. The detailed recommendations are in your pack. Thank you.
There are no public submissions, so councillors, are there any questions of officers? Councillor Sinfield?
Thank you, Chair. No question, but I'm happy to move a motion when the time is right.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any other questions? Councillor Pattis.
Thank you, Chair. In visiting a kindergarten today, I noticed, or I was told that normally during construction, we don't have any sort of information displayed for members of our community to see what is happening and as a result of this council and obviously state government funding. The question I was going to ask is it possible with projects like this that we could provide some sort of information? I know we've gone through consultation and so forth, but some sort of information to people that are either driving or walking past about this, the benefits of this project for our community.
Thanks for the question, Councillor, and through you, Chair. Certainly there's opportunity for us to communicate more broadly with the community through the construction of the works. We're happy to work with our communications department on taking that up a step.
Councillors, if there's no further questions, Councillor Sinfield, I believe you were willing to put the matter to a vote?
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, please, as my motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hollingsworth?
Happy to second, thank you.
Is anyone opposed? No? Councillor Sinfield, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, thanks, Chair. And that is just to thank officers for the work that they've done behind the scenes and the kindergarten community for their willingness to shuffle up the road for a period of 12 months so that we can deliver a new facility for them. It's a really exciting opportunity for this kindergarten, and I commend this motion to my colleagues, noting it's unopposed. Thank you.
Councillor Hollingsworth as the seconder, do you wish to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak?
I don't see any opposition, so look, I don't need to speak, thank you.
In that case, I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? With none against, I declare the motion carried. We're now moving on to item 3.2 of our agenda for tonight, which is the 2024-92 Highfield Park Pavilion redevelopment, and the officer presenting will be Nathan Belvedere.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I'll present this one. We've got Nathan here to support this evening. Highfield Park Pavilion in Camberwell is an important community sports and recreation space for Melbourne's eastern community. The existing sports pavilion lacks modern, inclusive and welcoming facilities, which limits access for many community members, particularly underrepresented groups such as women and girls. The absence of inclusive change rooms and bathroom facilities creates significant barriers to participation. The proposed works have been guided by the functional provisions included within Council's pavilion policy and Council's commitment to diversity, inclusion and participation principles to encourage underrepresented groups to participate in sport and recreation. The proposed replacement pavilion aims to create a better experience for the community and local sports clubs. The new pavilion presents an opportunity for community groups to utilise new multi-purpose space, accessible toilets and kitchen amenities. It will also feature improved oval sightlines, natural light, air conditioning and enhanced acoustics, ensuring the space is functional and versatile for a variety of users, including non-sports community groups. Examples of community groups that utilise other sports pavilions across Burundara include U3A, neighbourhood houses and Access Health Services, delivering various classes and activities for the community. On top of providing a modernised facility for the community, the project will deliver broader public precinct benefits with enhanced accessibility, the installation of a new public toilet with timed access, and the inclusion of bike hoops, drinking fountains, and improved soft landscaping. Together, these features will make Highfield Park a more welcoming, inclusive, and user-friendly space for the entire community. The proposed work is to demolish the existing pavilion and to build a new split-level pavilion which will be connected by an internal lift and external ramp. The new building will achieve compliance with current legislation, regulations and standards and will meet the changing needs of the sports clubs and the community, whilst also improving access and functionality of the facility. The works will also create a better connection between the pavilion and other key features in Highfield Park, including the north and south ovals, the playground, parkland, trails and cricket nets. The new pavilion incorporates high sustainability standards, featuring an all-electric design, including electric heat pump hot water supply, supported by a 30 kilowatt solar PV system, the removal of gas connection to the site, and utilising the roof area to harvest rainwater for reuse in the facility. Working with our contractors and sustainability team, we also aim to divert more than 90% of demolition materials from landfill. Council has allocated funding in previous financial year's budgets to commence consultation and design for the redevelopment works for the pavilion. Funding has continued through the current financial year and has also been forecast into next financial year, 25-26, to enable the delivery of the works. The report seeks to award the contract number 2024/92 for the redevelopment works of Highfield Park Pavilion to Simbuild for a lump sum of $4,101,270 excluding GST. Pending award of the contract, works are anticipated to commence in early 25 and be complete by early 2026. The officer makes a recommendation for Council to award the contract as per the Council report, and the detailed recommendations are displayed on the screen. Thank you.
We have one person tonight who's indicated they wish to speak on this matter, and there are 0 against the recommendation in the report and 1 in favour of the recommendation. When I announce your name, please sit at the top of the horseshoe table. I remind you that there is a strict time limit of 3 minutes. And please commence your submission with your name and suburb. And our first speaker will be Peter Campbell.
Good evening, councillors, and congratulations on all your recent elections. Through you, Mr Chair, I'm presenting on behalf of around about 80 recreational users of Highfield Park, and I'm one of them. What we do there is walk our dogs, and I do it twice a day. I'm there for probably at least half an hour on each occasion. And there's quite a few others there twice a day, some come once a day, either morning or afternoon. My concern is, I'm supporting the officer's recommendation, but my concern is that the current veranda area in the park, in the pavilion, serves a very important function. On a rainy day, people are in there throwing their balls for the dogs that don't mind getting wet. Looking at the design of the new pavilion, I've got a question. I guess my concern there is that there isn't equivalent covered veranda area. If you look at the roof line, it's sort of nice architecture, but it doesn't provide the same degree of shelter. So on behalf of these dog walkers in this informal group, it's actually a small community group formed around it, informal community group. I think we're all concerned that we're losing some amenity in the new pavilion.
Councillors, do I have any questions for Peter Campbell? Councillor Sinfield.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Mr Campbell, thanks for your submission. I note in the report that there have been 2 rounds of previous consultation. I'm wondering if you and your fellow dog walkers availed yourself of the opportunity to provide officers with that feedback during consultation.
I'm not sure if anyone has provided that feedback. We certainly have discussed it when we've been there in groups. I didn't personally provide that feedback either. I think I missed the first round of consultation. I'm not sure how long the interval was, but I saw a sign up, and when I scanned it, it was past the date. So, and I think there's a second one open now, which I will be putting a submission into if that hasn't just closed.
Be surprised if it was still open now. It was open between the 19th of February and 19th of March. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Mr Campbell, is there the current arrangement that you're talking about, the shelter where you're throwing balls and whatever with the dogs, what's sort of the rough size of that area at the moment?
At a guess, I'd say it's about, I've measured it maybe 8 metres by 4 metres. It's an area where approximately 10 or 15 people can stand in the shelter, and it's only when it's raining that it gets used, or if there's a barbecue on in the area that gets used by the sporting clubs as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure about the size of the area, but it easily accommodates 15, maybe 20 people standing around on a rainy day. And I apologise for not putting in a submission earlier. It's just something that I've had on my list of things to do, but I've been a bit busy on a few other matters. So I thought, I'm not expecting the design to get changed, but I'm just concerned that this is going to be a negative for this group of people.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr Campbell, for your presentation. Are you aware that this particular pavilion is significantly bigger in width? So the actual veranda coverage does go and extend beyond what the existing one does?
Yes, I'm aware that it's got a much larger footprint. My concern is really just the alcove/veranda area that's currently got a flat ceiling and it's quite well protected. The current design, or the new design's got these arches sloping up, so the incoming weather from southwesterlies, there's not going to be significant shelter provided, I don't believe.
And look, thank you for the question, and we'll seek further information from the officers. Thank you.
Councillors, if there's no further questions, I'd like to thank Peter for his submission, and we'll move on. Thank you. We'll now return to officers for matters arising.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Mr Campbell has described it well. There's an alcove area on the existing pavilion that provides, I guess, a larger depth of protection from the weather. The design of the new pavilion effectively provides a veranda around more sides of the building, so at a square metre rate by comparison would be probably more around the extent of the building, but doesn't have the depth that the existing alcove of the existing building provides. So aside from a significant design change and reconsideration of the matter, there is a shelter, but not to the depth.
Councillors, are there any questions for the officers? Councillor Ibuki.
I direct this question at Mr Freer. Does that mean that along the sides of the building, there are opportunities to shelter from different sides of the building to seek respite from any rain direction?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, we've just asked to put this slide on the screen. This is the ground floor of the pavilion, and effectively across the bottom of the screen and around to the side is the coverage that veranda provides at the moment, whereas, as I say, the depth of the existing one is much further back recessed into the building footprint.
Councillor Franco.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, the council report says that the tender was issued in accordance with specifications developed by council's externally appointed design team. It does not mention the sustainable buildings policy. Can officers confirm that the tender does meet the sustainable buildings policy and how it does meet that policy? I appreciate that was briefly touched on before, but to be direct about it.
Through you, Chair, the design of our pavilions is the initial phase, I guess, of consideration against our sustainable design policy. How that works is we have a panel of architects, and in the scope of services that those architects were provided for when they were appointed to that panel is to comply with that amongst a number of other council policies. So site by site, they make the assessment through the various stages of design development, which then gets to a design at that point in time. That policy was developed in 2016, and at that time it was using the Green Star rating, and a building of this type would have been to the equivalent of a 5-star building rating. I should say that policy is currently in its final stages of a review. It was identified as an action in the Climate Action Plan, and that will be presented to Council in the new year. From there, when we evaluate then tenderers for the construction works, there is a component of the tender plan which seeks the details of their treatment in an environmentally friendly way. So you'll see those elements that are in this building in terms of its electricity, its solar, its passive ventilation, rain harvesting and the like, as those elements of which are the matters in that sustainable buildings policy that are required.
Thank you, and you've answered what was going to be my second question, which was where the review of that policy is at. So thank you.
Councillor Pattis.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the officers. As we saw tonight, Mr Campbell wasn't able to provide feedback through the consultation process, and it's not unusual that sometimes people don't see the consultation phase and they haven't been involved. I think it's very important that we have signage on site during construction, letting people know what we're doing and showing the benefits and what it's going to look like and so forth. So I was just going to ask you through the chair to you, the same question I asked previously. Would it be possible to just incorporate in this some on-site signage through the construction period so that our community can see what we're doing and why?
Through Chair, yes, that certainly is something that we can apply to this project as well.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Freer, just a question with regard to the design of the roof line. Is it possible to bring the image back on the screen again that's facing the lower oval, which is the prominent, sorry. It's a little bit different to the, yes, yeah, okay. What I'm looking at on my computer was the one from the online consultation. But I just wanted to ask, with the articulation of the roof form there and the extension around the building of it, would it be perceived that because of the angles of the articulation that obviously some would give greater degree of protection than others? So for those looking for shelter, you know, perhaps at the lower level. But also if you could comment on the consultation with the current tenant and, you know, stakeholder clubs that are using the facility. Could you just talk a little bit about the involvement with their contribution to the design and level of satisfaction with the design?
Thank you, and through the chair, I'll start with the consultation. Question with the clubs. So, Wycliffe Cricket Club, Donvale Presbyterian Football Club and St Hilary's Soccer Club have all been consulted on this project. Over the life of the scoping and the design phase, all clubs have confirmed their support for the design that we've put together. And apologies, Councillor, would you mind repeating the first question again for me?
I think it was with regard to the articulation of the veranda roof form with the different angles on it, some obviously at higher and lower degrees. So in your opinion, would that provide an extra level of shelter for those that were seeking it, depending on what elevation of the area they would stand?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yes, we've gone with, the design team have proposed I suppose, a variable articulation of the soffit lining there. It's, I suppose, to add some aesthetic and visual interest to the building, and also, as we can see, rising to a high point to maximise natural light coming into that corner room, which would be the multi-purpose social type community space there to make it more appealing. For those community groups. As we move further along the building toward the cricket nets, where you can see the block work, that's obviously at a lower level and provide a bit more protection from weather.
Thank you. And Councillor Osborne-Smith just spoke to me about the ramp design. He just wanted to ask if there was any additional commentary on that. With regard to disability access and DDA compliance?
Perhaps if it helps the chair, I can elaborate on that.
Thank you.
If Councillor Osborne-Smith, if you could elaborate and please frame it as a question, that would be marvellous.
Yes, the question through you, Chair, to Mr. Freer is there an opportunity in this process to modify the design, not of the major building itself, which is well developed and has been through extensive consultation, but in fact the access ramp which circulates around a large tree to the north of that building, whether there's an opportunity to redesign that ramp to create a viewing area, an elevated viewing area for spectators of that facility. I believe it's an opportunity that can be realised, and I'd like the officer's opinion, please, if that can be included in tonight's officer's recommendation.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Sorry, I just wanted to seek advice on how the ramp is structured within the building footprint. The ramp is a concrete structure that is designed at the moment to sit on piles, so it doesn't sit on the roof of the building or on the structural part of the building. It is designed in a way at the moment to a maximum size around a tree, an existing tree. If it were to be increased in that area, it would necessitate the removal of a tree. There may be an opportunity past the tree to widen a section of that ramp to enable viewing. It hasn't been designed for that at this point in time. We may need to give consideration to, does that impact on the piles that it would sit on and have any other flow-on structural effects? I appreciate I can't give you a clear answer of yes or no, it can be done. I'm sure it can be done, but we're not aware of, at this point in time, the implications of that and the cost that would be associated with that.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I'd like to foreshadow an amendment to the proposed motion, the officer's recommendation tonight, and perhaps it may be best taken offline.
Could I...
Councillor Osborne-Smith, I'd just like to remind you there's not a motion on the table yet. We're still within questions, so there's no need to foreshadow for now.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Chair. Could I call for an adjournment, please?
Can I have a seconder for that?
Happy to second.
Councillor Sinfield.
Thank you, Chair.
Is anyone opposed to an adjournment? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. All in favour of an adjournment? Unanimously, I declare it carried.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to resume the meeting? Councillor Sinfield?
So moved.
And a seconder? Councillor Galt? Happy to second. I declare the meeting reopened. Correction. I put the motion to a vote. All in favour? I declare the motion carried and the meeting resumed. Councillor Osborne-Smith, would you like to move a motion?
Perhaps you could just scroll through the officer's recommendation.
An amendment motion?
Correction, we're still in officers' question time. Councillors, are there further questions for the officers? Councillor Sinfield?
Thank you, Chair. I do have some questions anticipating that there might be an additional clause about to go on the screen with regard to what I've just seen. So it's a little tricky to ask questions with something that's not on the screen yet. Are officers able to anticipate what councillors might move so I can speak to it? So in relation to points 5 and point 6, which I note are new and they've not yet been introduced by a councillor willing yet to move this motion, but in anticipation that that is likely, my question through you to officers, perhaps the CEO, is in relation to risk or exposure that the council may now have as far as creating opportunity for a variation is concerned, or an additional sub-project, if you like, to create the spectator viewing area with the residual project budget. I see in the papers that the project budget is at 6.6 million and the contract is at 4.1 million. I anticipate that there's some design and other bits to come out of that, but I'm not quite sure what the residual is.
Through you, Mr Chair, the residual is in the order of around $555,000. That is money that is below the budget allocation. There are perhaps two risks, if you like, to mention. One of them is that when you go to the builder, you are at risk of them applying a premium to the variation being sought. That's the first one. The second one is that the viewing area was not part of the public consultation in relation to the project, and there is therefore a risk that the local community may be concerned either about perceived overlooking or about noise from activity in the viewing area. They are the two risks that I see.
Thank you.
Councillor Friend-Pierre.
Thank you, Chair. My question is actually to the playing surface. So I understand the pavilion is getting done. Is the playing surface getting resurfaced as well? And will that follow I think it's a 90% natural turf, 10% synthetic that we've been implementing in other ovals?
Through you, Chair, subject to Council's further adoption of a budget, we seek to upgrade the playing surface, and we typically do reconstruction of pavilions with playing surfaces to minimise disruption to councils, to community and sporting club use of grounds. Our approach in respect to synthetic surfaces, we've trialled the use of a woven synthetic grass through a natural turf as well, and that is in high traffic areas of sports grounds, so typically goal mouths of soccer pitches or in front of interchange benches as well for field sports.
Councillors, are there any further questions for the officers? With no further questions, councillors, is there anyone prepared to move a motion?
Through you, Chair, I'd like to move the motion, please.
Councillor Osborne-Smith, is there a seconder?
Sorry, could I just seek clarification? Councillor Osborne-Smith, are you moving the amended motion on the screen?
Yes.
I'm happy to second that, thank you.
Councillor Hollingsworth, as the seconder, do you wish to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak?
Reserve my right, thank you.
And Councillor Osborne-Smith, as the mover of the motion, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Is anyone opposed to the motion? Councillor Sinfield? Councillor Sinfield, would you like to speak?
I would. Thank you, Chair. I'm in support of what was the officer's recommendation, clauses 1 to 4 of the motion that we see on the screen, but I'm not satisfied that clauses 5 and 6 will result in the best project for our community. In relation to point 5, I'm concerned that we expose ourselves to risk in allowing the not that I don't trust the Director of Places and Spaces, but I'm concerned that we've already been to tender on this and increasing the project budget from what has been tendered to the full funding envelope in the budget by $555,000 or thereabouts gives me concern. And secondly, in relation to point 6, I much prefer our long-standing process of community consultation rather than informing the community that we're going to change something that has already been out and been exposed for their consideration. So if the Chair or the mover were willing to split the motion, I'd be happy to support points 1 to 4.
Councillor Gold.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask the officers, is there a quantity surveyor assisting you in this project?
Through Chair, yes, indeed.
And are there clauses within the contract that let you handle disputes if the contractor and the quantity surveyor do not agree on a price?
Through Chair, yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Point of order, Chair. We're past question time. We're in debate.
Acknowledge, Councillor Sinfield. There's no further questions of officers, please. Would anyone else like to speak? In that case, Councillor Osborne-Smith, you reserved your right to speak. Would you like to speak to the motion now?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll just make a small comment. The proposed clause 5 and 6 of the officer's recommendation here, of the motion, that's put before us, is simply to enable a viewing area to be designed and potentially constructed as part of the ramp area. It doesn't affect the project or the majority of the project, and I think it's an appropriate modest design change for this project, and I'd commend it to the council to approve. Thank you.
Councillor Hollingsworth, as the seconder of the motion.
Yes, look, thank you. I support, obviously, this motion. My understanding is it's a fairly minor modification to widening of what is already a lower level of
I apologise, Councillor Hollingsworth. In this case, I believe Councillor Osborne-Smith has put the motion to a vote. Has closed the debate.
I did reserve my right to speak as seconder. I will allow it to Councillor Osborne-Smith to wrap up if need be.
Can the chair consider an exception to the rule on this occasion?
I apologise, Councillor Hollingsworth. In this case, per the governance rules, we won't be able to permit you to speak. So we will be putting the motion to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the motion? All those against? All those abstaining? I declare the motion carried. Councillors, we are drawing towards our next meeting, which is scheduled to start at 7:30. In order to facilitate this, we need to do a bit of musical chairs. So I'd invite the Mayor to, I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Could I please have someone put the motion forward to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Franco. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hollingsworth?
Happy to second, thank you.
I declare the meeting adjourned. Councillors, can we please put it to a vote? All those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. And the meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting of the 9th of December 2024. Due to unfinished business from the previous meeting, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Baillieu? No, Hollingsworth?
I propose an adjournment, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gold?
So moved, Mayor.
Anyone opposed? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. I declare the motion carried. The meeting is now adjourned.
Councillors, I'd like to resume the service delegated meeting. Do I have someone to put the motion forward? Councillor Ibuki.
So moved, Chair.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sinfield.
Happy to second.
I declare put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. And the Service Delegated Committee meeting resumed. Councillors, we're now moving to item 3.3 for tonight, contract number 2023/206, Concrete Miscellaneous Maintenance Services Panel. And Sean Martin will be speaking to the motion, to the item.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. As the responsible road authority, council is responsible for maintaining approximately 1,300 kilometres of path, 1,100 kilometres of curb and channel, 80 kilometres of laneways, and 22 kilometres of concrete roads and other road-related assets. The proposed panel contract aims to appoint appropriately experienced and qualified contractors to provide and ensure the efficient and continuous maintenance of council's assets within the road space. Works to be completed under this proposed contract originate from three primary areas: customer requests, officer inspections conducted under the road management plan, and condition inspections undertaken under council's renewal program. We are pleased to report that the tender process has been a competitive one with 19 submissions and has been undertaken in accordance with Council's Procurement Policy 2024. Of note was the high standard of environmental management plans within the tenders demonstrated alignment with Circular Economy Model 12R principles, in particular, reduce, reuse and recycle. This report seeks toward contracts under three contract panels: concrete replacement services, concrete grinding services, and miscellaneous services for an initial period of 3 years with an option of 2 increments of 1-year extensions with a possible maximum term of 5 years. The proposed contract is a schedule of rates contract, under which the contractors will provide services on an as-needed or programmed basis. The Tender Evaluation Panel has assessed all tenders received against quantitative and qualitative criteria and is satisfied that the recommended contractors can perform the required work and demonstrate the best value for money to council. The officer's recommendations are contained within the report, and I ask council to consider the report now.
Councillors, there's no public submissions tonight on this item, so we'll move straight to questions for the officers. Are there any questions for the officers? Councillor Pattis.
Thank you, Chair. Why is the term 3 to 5 years not in the officer's recommendation? Or maybe I'm not seeing it. It is 3 to 5. So it's in, sorry, so yes, it's option 1. It's actually at the end there. I just wanted to be clear that it's a maximum of 5 years and a minimum of 3. It's okay, I've answered my own question. Sorry, Chair. I did.
Thank you, Councillor Pattis. Councillor Sinfield.
I don't have a question, but I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation when the time's right.
Councillor Friend-Piera.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, given the significance of concrete as a source of emissions, carbon emissions, how does the recycle reuse strategies of council and the low carbon concrete strategies of council play out in this in this contract, and how are we addressing those issues?
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Chair. Through the tender process, council officers have reviewed and scored potential contractors against several criteria, one of which is environmental sustainability. Officers have been impressed with the environmental management plans provided by all tenderers. Responses also included committed use of low carbon concrete, and this is available for major suppliers and meets council standards regarding hardness, workability, and also the aggregate sizing. The reductions in this low carbon concrete range from 30% to 50%, and we will encourage and monitor the use of this low carbon contract within by our contractors.
Councillors, are there any further questions for the officers? there are no further questions, I put it to the councillors. Is there anyone, correction? Councillor Pattis.
I was going to move the motion, Chair.
Before we get to that, I would like to note that Councillor Sinfield, you have foreshadowed a motion. Councillor Sinfield?
I'm sorry.
Happy to move the officer's recommendation, Chair.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pattis? Is anyone opposed? With no one opposed, Councillor Sinfield, as the mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Only briefly, and that is to commend the motion to my colleagues and thank the officers for reviewing the tenders and the work that's been done behind the scenes to reach this point. So thank you.
Councillor Pattis, as the seconder, do you wish to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak later?
Reserve my right.
Councillors, I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Councillors, we now move on to general business. Are there any matters of general business? Take that as no. We now move on to urgent business. Are there any matters of urgent business? Take that as a no. Confidential business. Councillors, are there any matters of confidential business? Take that as a no. Before I close the meeting, I want to thank all who have joined us tonight. I declare the Service Delegated Committee meeting closed.